Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Meet the Author webinar. Our curriculum today is Build Your Future, a Career Readiness Curriculum. I'm Elena Massler with the National 4-H Council, and I'm your moderator today. We have just a few announcements before we begin. First, this webcast is designed to be interactive between you and the presenters. You can customize the webcast console that you are looking at. You'll also notice that there are several widgets at the bottom of the screen which you can open or close as needed. From left to right, the widgets represent the help guide, that's the question mark. If you have any technical difficulties, we suggest that you click here first. The screen is a presentation slide. The play button is a media player, and note that this is only needed for the recorded version. It's not necessary for the live webcast. The message icon opens the group chat box. The next sign over represents social media. The piece of paper with the green background is for the resource list. And then lastly, the person icon is the presenter information, which contains speakers' bios and contact information. We do recommend that you open a couple of widgets at this time. The first one is the group chat. Group chat is a great way to communicate with the fellow attendees, and it's also where you can ask questions of the presenters. We will try to answer all the questions during the webcast, but if more time is needed, we will send an answer afterwards. Deb and Lori will also be using the group chat box to get your opinions on things, so make sure you open it at this time. We also recommend that you open the resource list. There you can view and download a copy of today's presentation. There are also links to the 4-H Mall, as well as a link to register for upcoming webinars. An on-demand version of this webcast will be available approximately one day after the webcast and can be accessed using the same audience link that was sent to you earlier that you used to register today. And so, without further ado, our presenters today are Deb Barrett and Lori Rivetto. They are both Extension educators with Michigan State University Extension. Deb and Lori have been with MSU Extension and 4-H Youth Development for 20 and 9 years, respectively, and they work in areas including career education, workforce preparation, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. Deb and Lori, thanks for joining us today, and over to you.
All right, so this is Deb. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to spend a little bit of time with you this afternoon. And we're going to all practice how to use the group chat here with sort of an opening question. We would like to learn a little bit about you for the next half hour or so that we're together. Would you please share with us in the group chat your state and what organization you're from? Sometimes we draw folks from outside of Extension and 4-H as well, so we'd like to know who's with us. And then as we think about working with young people on their career goals and aspirations, we would like you to list one skill that you have that has helped you be successful in your job or career to this point. So for example, people in Michigan that know me, that are used to working with me, might say that I am an organized person and that has helped me be successful. So we will take a couple of moments for you to tell us who you are and let us know what skills you have out there as we get started this afternoon. So things like having fun and enjoying the work that we do, responsibility, being tech savvy, teamwork, being organized. Ed has a superpower. Wonderful. Being flexible and open to change, being adaptable in today's world. These are all important things that not only have made all of us as adults successful so far, but are things that we can think about as we work with young people. So if there are others that want to share their thoughts there in the group chat, you can continue to do that. We're going to move on here And in the little bit of time we have together this afternoon, Ready for Work and Ready for Life are going to be just a few of the current statistics and data that we have to remind all of you of why this topic is so important. We're going to give you a curriculum overview. We will mention each of the lessons. We'll share some information about delivery modes. You are all going to participate in a sample activity. We will share with you some of the extra online resources that are available that accompany the curriculum. We're going to do a poll when we get near the end to get some feedback, and we will leave a few minutes at the very end of our session for your questions and hopefully providing you answers. So with that, I want to share just a few. These are probably 2014, 2015 type statistics, just to remind you of how important career exploration and workforce preparation still is across our nation. According to the Alliance for Excellent Education, the national high school graduation rate was 78% nationally. I checked again today just to see if anything had changed, and they are still indicating that 1 out of 5 young people are dropping out of U.S. high schools on average. So that is still a 20% rate of those individuals that are not completing high school at this point. 26% of high school graduates are college ready, which means if everyone was aspiring to move on, that we have almost 75% that are not ready to move forward with more education when they complete high school. 60% of today's jobs do require some sort of post-secondary education or training. It does not have to be a 4-year degree for everyone, but some sort of additional education. Nationally, 39% of our population that is 25 to 34 years of age have an associate's degree or higher when we think about that across our nation. In addition, I would like to remind this group that according to the National Association of State Directors of Career and Technical Education, Consortium's Career Ready Practices, that goal number 10 nationally is that students will plan education and career paths aligned to their personal goals. A lot of us know career and technical education as perhaps CTE programs that we have in our state schools. And then according to a report that was put out November of 2014, Build Your Future also supports and kind of aligns with the candidate skills and qualities employers want and are looking for, according to the report that was released just over a year ago by the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And with that, I think Lori's going to take over.
Yep, thank you, Deb. So this is Lori, and I'm going to jump right into giving you an overview on the curriculum. So as Deb shared, this is a very, very important topic. And the purpose of this curriculum is to help youth develop skills and knowledge in career exploration. And the curriculum also includes several workforce preparation topics as well. The lessons align with previous national 4-H mission mandates under leadership and personal development. And they also are aligned with the National Career and Technical Education Standards. The curriculum is also research-based and peer-reviewed. That was done in Michigan and also through National 4-H Council. And the curriculum was also piloted in Michigan with urban and rural sites. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So the pilot involved getting youth feedback from 61 teens from 5 urban and rural Michigan sites. And they gave feedback that then was incorporated into our final design of this curriculum. So there's a couple quotes on there from youth sharing that it was a very cool way to learn, very hands-on and interactive. A teen shares that it takes more than you think to open a business, and I learned that I have to balance jobs and college. I learned that organizing the goals you have is a great way to start. So we had some great feedback and some great learning objectives that were achieved and demonstrated through our pilot. So the target audience for this curriculum is for ages 14 to 19. The lessons are adaptable to other audiences, but developmentally the audience must be able to understand basic career exploration. Lesson 1 is the most easy to adapt to younger audiences. It's very fundamental content, and when Deb goes through that lesson, you'll hear a little bit more about why that would be. Volunteer facilitators are encouraged. As we've all experienced, hearing something from someone else is very helpful sometimes to get a point across. So it's helpful to have volunteer facilitators to take part or come in and speak or present on different topics. The lessons are very interactive, and they range anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes. And lessons can be used as standalone. So you can do a portion of a lesson or a whole lesson or just one lesson out of the whole entire curriculum. So you don't have to do everything. You can adapt it to the time, the place where the youth are that you're working with. Whatever the demographics are, you can adapt it. There's a variety of learning methods that are included in the lessons. They include items such as skill assessments, a quiz bowl, there's business plan and portfolio development, also a lot of case study analysis and discussion questions to really keep the young people engaged in the curriculum. The curriculum includes both a youth journal and a facilitator guide. So the youth journal provides a space for youth to write and complete their activities, and they're able to keep this book beyond the course or the activity or the group. So it can be their space for keeping their thoughts, their ideas, their plans, their goals. The facilitator guide is very turnkey in that it is ready for any individual to use. You don't have to have a background or content knowledge in career exploration or workforce preparation in order to use. It's got all the information and often answer keys that are needed in order to do activities. I know I've been in situations where I'm doing an activity, and if I have an activity for young people to do and there's an answer that's needed and I don't know it and it's not provided, it can be very stressful as a facilitator. Well, that information is provided in this curriculum, so it's very easy to use. This is a sample of one of the lessons, and as you can see, there are the learner outcomes and success indicators on the left-hand side. So each lesson is set up with outcomes for the learners to achieve and indicators to know that the success was achieved. Each lesson also includes experiential learning process questions. So they include a share, process, generalize, apply questions based on the experiential learning model, 4H. And we encourage asking at least one from each category. And finally, the curriculum also includes an evaluation. There is an evaluation for the whole curriculum or by lesson. And there's also a completion certificate that can be provided to youth for participation in the program. There's actually check boxes, so you can check off what activities and lessons the young person actually completed in the curriculum and provide that certificate for completion. This is a great addition to add to a portfolio or to share with potential employers or for applications or scholarships that this course was taken at those particular topics were studied. Deb?
All right. So Build Your Future is set up with 9 different lessons, most of which that you would probably complete in a setting. But there are options with the way it's put together that if your audience needed to meet together for a shorter length of time or you wanted to break something up over multiple sessions, you can do that. The first lesson is called Skills, Choices, Careers, and it has to do with young people working through an assessment, sort of an interest inventory that was based on what some of career and technical education programs use. So it was something that's normal and is used to being seen sort of across states and across our U.S. And then once they have identified some things that they like to do or think they would consider doing, then it also puts them through an activity to let them think about what skills do they already have, what things are they already involved in, and how do you begin to take something like photography and taking pictures that actually helps you develop a skill for attention to detail, just as an example. Lesson number 2 is called Making Career Connections, and it is a series of learning activities to help them explore jobs and careers, think about doing some job shadowing, think about doing some volunteer work to explore a job or career, interview people that have that job or career, and so it gives them some options and ideas of the different ways that you can research different jobs and careers that you might be interested in. Lesson number 3 has to do with portfolios. And the end result is not a portfolio, but it sets the stage for what are the types of things that a person puts into a portfolio, why would you have one, where would you get the different pieces and parts that you need to have a personal portfolio of what you've done, and who could help you pull this together. And then one of the suggested activities out of Build Your Future Through Portfolios is that if you then wanted to go back and meet with the group and they all put a sample portfolio together and create one for themselves, then they could do that. Education Pays is lesson number 4, and that has to do with how training and education affects the opportunities and earnings in a job or career over time, so that young people can see at the different levels of training and education of how that might affect how they could move up a job or career ladder and how that would make a difference in the earnings that they may make over the longevity of their career. And then number 5 is called Career Funds, and that explores actually using a quiz bowl or a gaming type twist to it of the different words and ways of funding your education and training, preferably without going into a huge amount of debt. And that's a very fun, interactive way of learning some sort of dry information, but that is very important information. Lesson 6 is called Turn Your 4-H Passion into Profits. And some of you might be thinking that another word for that would be being entrepreneurial. So that lesson is about exploring having your own business, having a partnership, what are the components, what are all the different things that you have to think about to be an entrepreneur. And it does it through an activity that has a group work together, and you actually build what one might envision as a card house, or in this case it would be a card business or company. And so that is sort of a fun and interactive way of doing that one. Lesson 7 is called Pounding the Pavement. This does also include an online version that can be done and is available that Lori will mention a little later on. And this has to do with how do you search for jobs, appropriate ways to fill out a job application, creating and having a resume, and interview skills. And then the next lesson is number 8, called Putting the Pieces Together, Goals for the Future. And this actually focuses on what is the importance of goal setting, what are the steps or goals involved in getting to the job or career of your interest, and how do you break that down in smaller chunks as short-term goals, what are the long-term goals that you have to work towards, but encouraging young people to have that sort of plan, that thought process of what are the steps, how can I adjust these steps and goals, and how does this help me get where I'm headed or where I want to be. And then the last lesson is called Pathways to Success. This too has an online version that can be done if you have a group that are tech savvy and they want to do it interactive with the computer. And this places a couple of individuals in their roles of already having a job and being in the workforce, and they start to experience real life situations on the job where they need to look for assistance or they need to gather up some help and some ideas. And it kind of helps young people and adults working with them think about how are you successful in the workplace, how do you handle situations so that you don't quit, you don't give up, but you learn how to deal with challenge and still be successful in the world of work. And Lori, I think you're up again.
Yep, and we're going to talk now about how and where you might actually use this curriculum. So we've had a lot of experience with the curriculum Build Your Future being used in a variety of delivery modes. So traditional 4-H clubs and county-wide projects and programs, things like team leadership programs, the curriculum's been used substantially there. Mentoring programs have also utilized this curriculum to help build, whether one-on-one or small group, build those life skills in the young people in those mentoring relationships. It's been utilized in school enrichment, so during school day programming and also after-school programming. So it's been done in series and after-school programs. In addition, it's been used in inclusive programming, military camps. It's been used with foster care youth and at juvenile detention centers. So there's a variety of methods that it can be used. And as mentioned, since the lessons can be used as a standalone, the curriculum has been used in a variety of settings, and it can fit almost any delivery method you can think of. So there are some additional resources that are online. So the website listed there, 4h.org/curriculum/careers, has a great deal of additional resources at your disposal. On that website are links to resources, websites, pages that will help with the activities. In setting up the curriculum, we determined that having links or websites listed in the curriculum can be problematic because those links, as you're all probably aware, can go dead. And then they're printed in the curriculum and it's not as useful or helpful anymore. So with the website, you can go there and get current information and get links to resources that will help with those activities. And it's easy to have the most current version listed there. In addition, web-based learning activities, the two that are online that Deb mentioned, Pounding the Pavement and Pathways to Success, are also accessible there. The online activities match the lessons, but they do provide a different learning style option to use with youth. So these are just some screenshots of what the websites look like for those additional resources online, and a link for the 4-H Mall or a screenshot for the 4-H Mall. There is a button that says Look Inside on that page for the 4-H Mall. And when you click on that from the 4-H Mall page, you can see the first few pages of the curriculum and sort of get an idea of what it looks like firsthand. So now we're going to jump right into a sample activity. This activity is from Lesson 9, Pathways to Success. So the big question here is about, are we actually done learning once we get a job? Is getting the job the end and we're finished learning for life? I would ask all of you, have you stopped learning? And I'm pretty sure everyone on this call would say no, you have not stopped learning. In this lesson, we're actually helping our friends with their work challenges. So today, you get to assist Kim with her issue or struggle at work. So as you can see, Kim has seen many colleagues taking an extra 15 minutes for lunch, showing up a few minutes late to work, checking email and surfing the internet during work hours. She is tempted to engage in the same behaviors. Why not? If everyone else is doing these things, isn't the work environment more casual and open to these things? So in this activity, this is one of the scenarios that youth would get, and they would need to determine what her issue is and help her come up with solutions. So on the next slide, there's actually a poll. So based on that challenge that was just read, what is the challenge in Kim's life? So please take a second right now to determine whether you think her challenge is the teamwork, communication skills, business etiquette, or professional development. So we've got about half of attendees have responded, so I'm going to give a little bit more time for a few more people to share what they think Kim's challenge is. All right, so let's look at the results. So it looks like most people felt that the challenge in Kim's life was business etiquette. And while all of these are components that Kim might need to look at and definitely influence what's happening in her work situation, the answer we're going for here is business etiquette, looking at the set of manners that is accepted or required for individual actions. So then it would be an opportunity to discuss what business etiquette is and what that means and how it might look different at different positions or work environments. So let's go into the next piece of this activity, brainstorming ways that Kim could address this challenge. So in the group chat, please share your ideas. What are the ways that Kim could address this challenge, or what are things that Kim should consider? How could she handle this issue or problem in her work life? So we'll just take a couple minutes to share those in the group chat. Oh, good advice, Anne and Jane. Yeah. So the best part about these types of discussions is that it does lend itself for you as a facilitator to be even able to share some previous experiences or past behaviors that you saw or challenges you had to deal with in the workplace as well. Sequoia, great comment. And the neat part about it is that there's also ideas and feedback to share with young people. Again, sort of that giving you some of the answers or some of the things that you might share. The idea is for the youth to brainstorm these ideas and concepts. But if there's important ones that maybe they're not thinking of or they're not arriving at, the ways that you can remember those or note those and share those back with youth. So a lot of the things that you all mentioned, don't be tempted to stray from what you know is right. Show up and show up on time. We know the difference between not only showing up on time, but actually showing up and being present with the work and with what the activity requires. Developing that positive reputation for honesty and consistency and being that role model. I saw a lot of others say sharing that they would be a role model for their peers. I saw someone wrote something about asking their supervisor. So contacting the supervisor to find out about expectations. Using a friend as a sounding board. So it's helpful to talk to someone else about what you're experiencing, not someone at work, but someone that's a friend that you know, are uncomfortable about something that you're experiencing, and seeing if there's ways that they can help you clarify the issues and what some of the ethics are involved. And then looking for an employee handbook. Sometimes there's an employee handbook that would explain the appropriate behavior in these situations. So there's a variety more that are listed in the curriculum, but those are a few of the ideas that would come up in this conversation in this scenario. Thank you all for participating.
All right, so this is a list of the authors from Michigan State University Extension that worked on Build Your Future. And Build Your Future was done with a grant from National 4-H Council and Michigan State University. It came out in, I think we finally saw it August of 2013. So it is fairly new, but it has been out for a couple of years. And if you have not seen it before, the visuals and the graphics we've been using today have been from the curriculum pages and the 4-H Mall for what you see when you go to purchase Build Your Future. This one is packaged a couple of different ways for folks. You can buy the facilitator guide and the youth journal separately. You can buy them together as a set, or they did also package them one facilitator guide to 5 youth journals, if you would like to do it that way. Everyone has used a whole variety of methods of whether all the young people that they work with have their own youth journal or whether they pick pieces and parts. They do it a variety of ways. You pick what's most appropriate for you and your situation. It is fairly reasonably priced based on what we've heard with some in-school and after-school programs. We have talked with folks and worked with folks that have written Build Your Future into some grant applications and had programs funded in that way. And that will kind of lead us towards wrapping up our session here. But again, with the use of this group chat where we can kind of gather everyone's thoughts here, Lori and I would like to know from you 2 things. One, for you, how would you see that Build Your Future or this type of curriculum might enhance the work that you are doing with youth, or that you would convey to staff or volunteers working with youth? How do you see it being used? And then at this point, we will also take questions from you. If you have any ideas or questions that you would like Lori and I to respond to, you can put that in the group chat as well. Using it with teen leaders is a great idea. You know, in some ways, you could also have older teens sharing it with, middle school or, high school freshmen, it's very applicable. And we really did write and design Build Your Future for volunteer facilitators to deliver the lessons. What other ideas have we got out there?
Yeah, and I was going to add, Deb, that with teen leaders or teen council members, there's a great fit too in preparation for applying for scholarships or applying for awards or those kind of pieces. And then doing interviews. So there's a great tie-in there. Great after-school programs and a CYFRA grant, Latino youth group.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Wonderful. If any of you are going or you have colleagues or individuals going, Lori and I actually will also be out at the National After School Association Conference coming up in March, and we will be teaching a session of Build Your Future out there. If anyone is traveling to that conference, you could swing by and see us or talk to us. Okay, going to use it with the club, going to use it with after school. Yeah, it's really been, it's applicable, it's adaptable. Oh, wonderful.
Come visit us.
Yeah, come by and see us. I believe that Tara is also going to be out at that conference. So swing by the 4-H booth and say hi. Yeah. Always good to see our colleagues and individuals that work and support 4-H across the nation here. Okay.
It has had success in after-school program being used for a series of education. I've actually been able to use it with a summer program as well in a similar type of setup. It was a continuation of an after-school program, and it was their summer series, and I was able to be involved with teaching for an hour once a week for a series. So there's a lot of applicability in that delivery mode.
We do have staff in Michigan that are teaching through the juvenile justice system and working with groups of young people there that are working on turning their lives around a little bit. Sometimes you got to work maybe a little bit harder to help come up with examples or spend a little bit more time on certain pieces of Build Your Future, but it has been successful, and everyone is catching on to what the intent of Build Your Future is and how they can explore careers and be successful. I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions that Lori and I need to answer. I think that sort of our wrap-up slide here shows some of the other upcoming Meet the Author webinars. And maybe with that, we'll turn this back over towards Elena and see if there's any other wrap-up we need to do.
Okay, well, I actually have one question. Yep.
Could the activities be adapted for a little younger youth? Sequoia, I think you need to kind of look through the curriculum and think about the developmental level of those young people. It has been my experience that if kids are not far enough in school where they've been exposed to some career exploration or at least some of the basic terminology of jobs, careers, that you got to kind of take certain classes or think about what you're going to do with your future, that it's really pretty challenging for them to work through this. If you've got a gung-ho group or you got enough adults or team support where you can work a little, break down, the number of facilitators to the number of youth in the audience if they're younger, that might work. I think you probably just have to dabble with it and look at it, maybe pick and choose which lessons you might use with a younger group.
Yeah, and I would add my success is, again, I've had to look at the audience, but I did have some older or some advanced middle school students, but I still stuck with doing lesson one, really exploring their skills and their interests and what careers they'd be interested in. And then we jumped into doing some of the interview pieces from the Pounding the Pavement lesson. I think they'd had enough experience having been interviewed or talking to people in general, that we really focused on the communication and the interviewing, and they'd seen enough of that and heard enough of that from their experiences and other things in life that it fit in really well. So for younger, the ones you're talking about, I think they're like as early as first grade. I think that this would not be applicable, but there's other tools I think out there to work with that age group.
Okay, Elena, anything else?
Yeah, so I just wanted to thank both Deb and Lori for presenting today. It's an awesome curriculum, and you've had a lot of success with it. So thank you for sharing that with everyone today. And with that, that does conclude our webcast. So thanks everyone for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.